Good evening, everyone. It is a Saturday, and it is January 10th. We're already into the middle of January, and guess what, folks? We got another live stream tonight. I'm your host, Derek Stewart, along with my kinfolk and co-host Isaiah, and we're here to do this thing again. We're going to be specifically talking about the recaps from those two games because we have the national championship all locked, loaded, and ready to go, and we're happy about it. It played out just like we wanted it to play out, and we envisioned it would play out. So let's get right into this. Make sure you hit that subscription button, and this is Real Talk. This the station for Real Talk. You're listening to the DC Stewart Show Podcast live on YouTube, Facebook, Twitch TV. We're doing the whole 9 yards, peeps. So join this train. Get on this train. No ESPN scripts, all Real Talk. So come vibe with us tonight. Anyway, let's start this thing out and start with that Miami-Mississippi game. We were a little bit concerned about Miami and Mississippi because Mississippi really was a team that was hot. They beat Georgia. They were on the move. They had a good quarterback. They had some good receivers and a good running back. Kewan Lacey is a superior running back in my opinion. He tweaked his hamstring in the game, and he wasn't the same after he ran that 73-yard touchdown on Miami. And the reason he ran that 73-yard touchdown, it was a defensive call. It was somewhat of a busted play, but I'm not using that as an excuse. I'm just explaining what really happened in this game. So I got some questions to ask you, Isaiah, and guess what? What is your biggest takeaway from that Miami game? Because you know what? At the last quarter, I could not sit down on my BBL.
Yeah. Yeah.
I could not sit down. I stood up in front of the TV the whole quarter.
It was a game. It was a strategic game on both of them part, and they had to make things happen. And what happened to me, and my biggest takeaway, is things that is not characteristics of the Miami Hurricanes. They dropped a lot of picks where they could have swayed that game early. They had a couple.
I think they dropped 3 interceptions, right? I mean, it was just driving me nuts, man. They just, oh my goodness.
Characteristic of them. And then they had some they jumped off sides a couple times too. So that gave them first downs, and other teams capitalized off of those misfortunes. So one thing I really thought about is the fact that they persevered, even at the end when they had that long sustained drive and ultimately Beck walked in the end zone. It was so open, man. I was like, what you waiting on? Take off, man, go. Because it was wide open. But other than that, man, it was a really hard fought game between the two. Well coached on both sides. Yeah.
Okay, so from first quarter into second quarter, let's start with the first half, because the first half, Miami controlled the clock. Miami was in complete control of the clock, but they weren't scoring any points. I mean, they didn't score a substantial amount of points, to reflect that they actually had control of the clock, because Mississippi had several, 3 and outs, and they gave it back to Miami. Miami drove down the field. They got inside, I believe, the red zone. They couldn't figure out how to get into the end zone, so they kicked the field goal, and it was a 3-0 game. At that point. But my question to you is, what really happened to that aggression that Miami was supposed to have on offense to take it to Mississippi's defense? Because they let that defense hang around. They didn't really tire out that defense from what I could see. What do you think about that?
Well, you got to remember, Mississippi is not a pushover, man. They got
of course not.
Really good team. They got a really superior team, and it's not like that's the reason why they went that far. They beat everybody. And, that's what it's all about when you get late in the season like this in the playoff. You're not going to just be doing things like you do to teams throughout the season, because you up there with the big boys. These are the top of the totem pole with all the guys who's there left, the teams that's left now. So I didn't expect a blowout. I mean, even that game yesterday between Indiana and Oregon, that was like a lopsided game, but that was unusual. But getting back to the Canes game, from what I heard, and it just is things that I heard, a lot of the players was actually under the weather. They were several of them were severely sick. So and they
Mhm.
played through it. They didn't use it as an excuse. Don't get me wrong, but it's some of those names like Mesidor and Bain and those guys who you hear their name all night on defense. You wasn't hearing those names being called because those guys was under the weather. They were real sick, and I think Mesidor got his arm or shoulder or something like that hurt too. So we want to make sure he's okay and he's going to play for the championship. Yeah.
Exactly. We welcome all of our guests, by the way. We got quite a few guests sitting here. We have Belthorian at Belthorian. He says Indiana is going to smash Miami. That defense is suffocating, and Carson Beck will make too many mental mistakes for Miami to win. Okay, so we really respect your opinion on what you think the game is going to turn out to be, but guess what?
Yeah.
They still got to take the field against Miami. And I'm treating Miami as an underdog in this game. We're so happy that Indiana's coming to town. We want all of the people from Indiana to come to the city of Miami, see how it's really done when they've come to living it up. They welcome. Everybody from Indiana is welcome. We're going to be there, and we're going to be talking to some Indiana fans, by the way. So we're looking forward to that. But to answer Belthorian's response and comment is never underestimate the underestimated. Miami has history on their side. Miami won the national championship for the first time in the school history in 1984. It was a 1983 season. However, 1984 was when they played the national championship game against Nebraska, and nobody gave Miami even a minuscule chance of winning this game. Okay, so the Big Ten, we will respect the Big Ten. We respect the SEC. These are the two titans of conferences. But if Indiana starts listening to all this stuff, which I hope they do, I hope they come to town listening to all of this type of, I consider comments that put Miami down, because I'm not going to count Miami out of this game. First of all, let me give you one example. Miami's playing at home. I know Miami's not perfect at home, but they're playing in front of their home crowd. People from all over Florida are going to be there. We'll probably have up to 100,000 fans either in the parking lot or in the stadium. And Indiana's going to have their fan base. I saw them last night at Mercedes-Benz Stadium. It was spectacular. You had 75,000 Indiana fans that traveled from all over the country, not just from the state of Indiana. They travel from all over the country to see Indiana play, because this is the first time in history the school has ever gotten this far, and they've made it to a national championship. So, Isaiah, let me go to the second question with you. These teams match up fairly well. I think Miami has the edge in skill positions in terms of, talent versus Indiana. Although Indiana's got some dogs on their team. So tell me, what do you think, how these two teams are going to match up from the perspective of when they take that first snap? It's going to all be done at the defensive and offensive line. If whoever wins the trenches in this game is going to walk away with that trophy, don't you think?
Yeah, of course it is. Yeah, that's what it's all about, man. Those halls in the middle on offense and defensive line, yeah. But those key positions is the quickness of Miami. But one thing I could see with Indiana, they read really well.
Oh, for sure. Back to the ball really well. I was watching them.
Fight on anything, DC.
The last two games, I watched them against Alabama and I watched them against Oregon, and it just looked like Kirk Cignetti, man. Yeah. I just ran out of accolades for this man. I got so many for him because he came from Elon, then he went to James Madison. Everywhere Kirk Cignetti has touched down, it's been success. He doesn't smile. He doesn't get into all of this glory thing because he's all about business. Kirk Cignetti is about business, but however, Mario Cristobal is about business. And we're going to talk about both of these coaches because this is going to be a chess match. And once we get it down, this ain't going to be checkers. This is going to be chess. Whoever can make the less mistakes and whoever wins in them trenches is going to win this game. I'm not going to say it's going to be a blowout either way. I think it's going to be a very tight game. I think it's going to be closer than a lot of people anticipate. So with that said, Indiana's offensive line is mammoth. What do you think about Miami's defensive line up against Indiana's offensive line?
Well, Jason Taylor gonna have those guys ready. You know, they're gonna be stunting. They're gonna be killing it on the ends, and you know they know what they're up against. Because one thing I've seen so far this year, they haven't taken any games lightly, and that's one thing I can say. I can refer back to Notre Dame. When Notre Dame came in here at the beginning of the year, they took University of Miami lightly, like they was gonna steamroll Miami, and they came out of here with their tail between their legs. So this is could possibly happen to Indiana. But the way they are coached, I think they settled down really well, DC, and University of Miami just got to go in there and play like stern football. They got to block, they got to game tackle, they got to concentrate, because those picks that they dropped this past week, they're not going to have too many of those to be able to drop like this, because you're talking about a Heisman Trophy quarterback where that guy don't just be throwing balls up for grabs. He throwing to target.
Oh, he throws bullets and spirals. Because I watched him last night, and that camera angle showed him tossing that ball from, and he always throws to the outside shoulder of his receivers. He don't get that defensive back a chance to.
You got to work at it, man.
Exactly. And we have the defensive backs, I think, that match up well against their receivers, and they got some damn good receivers for Indiana University, for sure. Mm-hmm. So here's another thing, too, that I find that's going to be interesting. So Miami has the depth, they have the speed, but do they have that tenacity that they're going to bring to this game and not let Indiana come up in there and embarrass them in their own house? They're going to protect the house, I believe, right?
They got to smash mouth it, man. They got to feed that ball to the running backs, man. They got to do that. They got to establish that run. And if they establish that run and give Tony some time to throw those routes and give Daniel some balls here and there, they can prevail. But they got to be consistent. They can't be dropping passes. They got to downfield block when the running backs is running the ball. So they really have to get down to it, man. It's a basic game. You got to. It's like smash mouth, DC. They got to go at it. They got to sustain their blocks. And the guys who's not getting the ball, they still got to be doing something. They got to be a decoy when it's time for them to
absolutely.
Decoy, but they got to be consistent, because from what I see with Indiana just don't bite on anything. They don't just
run at you. It's just like a bunch of piranhas, man. Wild set of dogs. Yeah. I mean, you know how a posse of dogs, they travel deep and they're aggressive. I mean, they get around the ball. They're tackling hard too. I mean, that Indiana defense kind of reminds me of those old throwback Hurricane teams back in the 80s and the 90s. Like, when you played against those teams were beat up after that game because Miami used to punish.
They're physical. They
were physical back then. And Indiana kind of reminds me of that in a lot of ways. But the question is, will Miami be able to win this game without being perfect? Will that be possible?
They got to be perfect, because Indiana played perfect football. And that's where it's going to be, man. You cannot slack up. You can't slack on anything. You can't be lobbying around. You just got to go all out every play, because it's going to be a tight game. And it matters. You know, you can't be missing field goals. You can't be missing blocks. You can't do this unorthodox stuff where you have these penalties and stuff like that. You got to play mistake-free football to beat these guys, because they've been number one or number two the entire season. You got to remember that. They was hobbling on
number two until they beat Ohio State in the Big Ten championship, and then they vaulted to number one. And they haven't given up anything since. They've actually been more aggressive than ever. And man, they got them running backs for Indiana, man. They the truth. I mean, I could start preaching the gospel that these running backs that Indiana have is the truth. And man, they hit them holes because Indiana's line is just freaking huge.
Yeah. One of those running backs got Henry on the back of his jersey, and he reminded me of Derrick Henry. A huge guy, brutal. He runs like crazy, like a madman, and he hit that hole. He bounces off people. He stiff arm the hell out of you. So Miami got to be ready for that. They got the game tackle. They got to be physical, man, because this game is going to be something where both of them have good coaches, good staff, great players. So they got to do whatever it takes, man, and that means mistake-free football.
Yeah. So here's their top running back, Roman Hemby. He's got 1,060 yards this year. And he's the one you were talking about. And then they have Kalen Black. They have Kobe Martin running that ball from that backfield. And they just, Cignetti just rotate them in and out.
Yeah.
It's like a 1-2 punch.
That right there wore the hell out of a defense, man.
It does.
I'm telling you, because when you can have fresh legs in there that's running that ball hard every down, those defenses start putting their hands on their hips, man. You taking on those hits every play, you know you will wear the hell out of a defense if you keep some fresh legs in that backfield on offense. So they got to be ready for it. I mean, those guys got to stay ready for it, man. Because I watched them throughout this season, and I realized how accurate the quarterback is, how crisp they run their routes. Mm-hmm. This is a good team. It's just a very.
You know what I like about this game, though, Isaiah? We're talking about Indiana's running backs, and we're talking about Hemby, and we're talking about all of the tenacity that those guys run with, because they run angry. But guess what? We have Mark Fletcher Jr., we have Shamar Brown, we have Gerard Pringle. We have quite a few running backs, Jordan Lau, and I think the running backs on both sides of the ball match up to make big plays, to make big runs. And let me speak directly to Mark Fletcher Jr. This is your day. This is your game. That MVP has got your name on it, Mark Fletcher Jr. Your father is watching you, and I know you admire your father, and they talked about his father. His father passed away, and God bless him. We're sorry to hear about that, but Mark Fletcher, you can make your father proud. You hit them holes and you start running like a madman against Indiana. Trust me, they'll get tired and they'll start grabbing at your legs. They'll close their eyes, because when they get tired and they don't want to tackle anymore, they start coming in head first with their head down. And that goes for both defenses, of course. But I'm just speaking directly to the Miami running backs room. So when they hit those holes, because I think both offensive lines, to me, are pretty much even. Do you think so, or do you think one offensive line have an advantage on the other one?
Hell no, they're huge. You see that? I've been talking about that for a month, man, how big those guys are. They huge, man. They giants. 6'6", 6'7", they huge, right, man. 300 plus, all of them. And that's the reason why they crunching up teams, man. And they made Oregon look like amateurs, man. I mean, really.
Well, here's my take on Oregon. I think Oregon came in too overconfident. And I picked Oregon, by the way, so I'm going to be man up and say I picked Oregon to advance. So I didn't think Indiana was going to have enough to beat them. But when I saw Dante Moore throw that pick six, but by the time I blinked my eyes when the game came on and they kicked off in the first play from scrimmage, he threw a pick six. The defensive back read his eyes. He telegraphed it all the way down. He threw it, and the defensive back, he jumped it. He jumped the route, and he was gone. It was 7-0.
Remember, I've been saying that I wanted the Canes to play Oregon. I've been wanting the Canes to play Oregon. I think that was a bit easier task, man.
You think so?
Yes, I know so. Now,
what would have been the most easiest task at Oregon in Indiana? Because Oregon was playing at the top of the key the whole year until last night. They got their butts kicked.
They ran into a buzzsaw last night. That's what happened. They ran into a buzzsaw, man. Listen, they were out-coached and outplayed. For real. They were out-coached.
They were definitely out-coached.
Yeah.
Outplayed too, but I'm gonna put a heavy emphasis on outcoached as far as Dan Lanning is concerned. And Dan Lanning is very well respected to be a coach. It's just that they didn't prepare for what the buzzsaw was going to be, right?
Those receivers from Indiana was open like 10 yards. It wasn't a defender within 10 yards on a couple of those passes. They just blew Oregon out the water, man, with these routes. They run such smooth routes. and those guys are fast and they got sure hands. They don't be dropping balls, man. And that's the thing. That's why I say Miami's got to be on top of the game, because you get an opportunity for a pick, you better grab it, because you may not get no whole lot of opportunities like that.
That's for sure.
He don't throw balls up for grabs, man. He throw it to his guy.
He throw it to the outside shoulder when the receiver is going toward the sideline. That ball is coming to the outside shoulder.
Yeah, and you
to give the receiver the chance to catch it, not the defensive back to fight through it and try to either intercept it or either bat it down or whatever they need to do.
They got to cause a pass interference to get that ball, man.
Exactly. So here are the top receivers for Indiana. And Omar Cooper Jr., he has 64 receptions for 866 yards this year. Elijah Surratt. He's a stud.
Yeah.
62 receptions for 802 yards. And then Charlie Becker, another receiver, standout, talented receiver, 30 receptions for 614 yards. So they spread the ball around. Fernando Mendoza knows where to go when he needs to go to these receivers, and he go up and get these balls, man. They don't play around. You saw that Indiana receiver go as high, he skied to get that ball in that end zone and score that touchdown, right?
Yeah, I mean, he keep a set of fresh legs, man, with his running backs or his receivers. They keep fresh legs out there, man. And that, what I'm saying, is hell for a defense to defend, man, because these guys keep fresh legs in there. When you got fresh legs in there, they're running 100% every play. You know, when you got a guy who's alternating like that, they stay fresh.
True. Yeah, and the thing is that I like Miami chances, and we're going to go back to Miami's chances here, because a lot of people are already saying that Indiana's hot, nothing's going to stop them. They're going to hoist that trophy at the end of the game. But you're going to hoist that trophy inside my house. I'm not going to let you do that. I don't think Miami's going to let them do that.
Hot. Both of them are hot.
Both of these teams are hot. Miami, they had to score that last drive to get through. But I've known in the history, and I'm not saying this is going to be different, but the history of playoffs that I've watched from pro to college, the team that has the closest margin of victory versus the other team who blew the other team out, I think the one that was the closest margin of victory, they play above the rim in the next game for the championship. Now, a lot of people will refute me with that. I'm just telling you my own personal experience with it from the way these teams play. Now, you're looking at a receiving core of studs for the University of Miami. Who's going to guard Malachi Tony? Who's going to guard CJ Daniels? Miami's receivers, to me, are more talented than Indiana receivers. And I know the Indiana fan base don't want to hear that. I know the Indiana faithful don't want to hear that. But it's going to show in this game which receiving core are going to have the biggest game, I think, especially with the play calling and the matchups that Shannon Dawson is going to be putting into play. And Miami loves screens, so they better be ready to play those screens and bite. Because, see, a screen can get you to bite. You know what I mean? A screen brings these defensive backs up. A lot of times they sense and they sniff that it's going to be either a screen or it's going to be a run. And when you pull them up 1 or 2 steps, the receiver is on a streak down the sideline, right?
Yeah. Screen is a big play, man. It opens up everything. It opens up the alleys for them to run for a bomb, and it opens up balls for the running back to carry. And so it's a good repertoire for your offense if you use that screen, man. Even the end screen or the middle screen is it's almost guaranteed you 6 yards when you run a screen.
Especially with Malachi Tony. When Malachi Tony touch it, he's electric.
Yeah,
he's electrifying.
He is
electrifying. This kid can run.
He runs so good in traffic, man, to be so small, because he know how to dart through any little crease you can find. So that right there could be wreaking some havoc for a defense, man, because he's so small too. You be looking for him, and next thing you know, you see the back of his damn jersey. Yeah.
So you have the returning stars for the University of Miami's receiving corps. You got Keelan Marion. You have Malachi Tony. You have C.J. Daniels, and their tight end is solid as solid as a rock.
Yeah.
You know, and you got JoJo Trader. You got a lot of very talented receivers for the University of Miami. So help me through this, Isaiah. Tell me about these two quarterbacks. Let's talk about Fernando Mendoza. Fernando Mendoza spent 3 years at Cal. He didn't get recruited from the University of Miami. I don't know why they didn't recruit him. He said he used to walk to the campus. He lived right up the street. Yeah, he could walk to the campus. How do you allow a kid like that to get out of town, out of Dodge City, to go west, first and foremost?
Well, they was distracted, man, and he loved the city so much. I don't even think he really wanted to leave. He inspired to be a hurricane, and I don't know how he managed to wind up in Cal, but you know, fate brought him to a position where now he's a Heisman Trophy winner.
Oh, for sure.
What a dream story, man. And
it is.
And now he's playing a national championship, because we mauled his ass last year. I mean, he was about to cry.
Well, when Cal got beat, when Miami came back on him with Cam Ward. Yeah.
He played his rear end off, and he came up short, and he was devastated. But, man, it's amazing. And I listened to him today speak about how glad he is to be back in the city that he loved, and he played his high school ball here, and he grew up here. So it's got a lot of sentimental things, embarked on this game. So it means a lot to his family, him, the town over there, the school, Columbus High School where he went. I mean, to see these former players come back on a big stage like this, it's got to be a dream come true for these kids to be on such a high plateau for them to win a national championship. And he already won the Heisman, so he's just going to add to it just to be in this game as a national championship. The only thing is, I love his story, but I want his ass to lose on the 19th.
Yeah. It's going to be interesting to see which quarterback plays better in this game, him or Carson Beck. I'm putting my money on Carson Beck, because this is Carson Beck's moment as well. Just like I spoke to Mark Fletcher, Carson Beck could really rise his stock if he take over this game and he plays like a pro in this game, like he did in this last one against Mississippi. I thought he did fairly well. I thought that last run that he took and started running, he wasn't scared. That's the good thing I like about Carson Beck. He was a little timid when I first saw him play a year ago, but he wasn't scared this year to take off and start running. And he doesn't seem like he slides. I mean, he takes off to try to get the first down. If it's a first down needed, he's going to try to take on the tackle and go over the line to get the first down. And I'm very proud of him for that. But since we mentioned Fernando Mendoza's coming home, he's coming home to a home crowd. They're going to be huge. It's going to be a huge following there for Fernando Mendoza. And his family is just, they're a top-notch family. The whole Mendoza family is just, the class personified. The father, the mother, he's got two brothers. His younger brother play for Indiana. I'll probably be starting next year. And I'm really happy for Fernando Mendoza. But this is time for Carson Beck to shine. Yeah. Carson Beck, this is time for you to shine. Because if you don't shine, you won't be remembered like you would if you take over this game and be a part of that Miami quarterbacks. It's a fraternity. Yeah. You could join that fraternity. You didn't win the Heisman, but you could join that fraternity and take over the national championship. You put this team in position to win the national championship. I can promise you he will go down in lore, forever remembered as one of the top quarterbacks that Miami had to come through there, because we haven't had one through there in the last 10 years, right?
Yeah, at least
10 years. We haven't had a quarterback that just stuck out other than Cam Ward. Cam Ward is the difference, right? Because we just had him
Yeah.
over a year ago.
Yeah.
But before Cam Ward, we didn't really have anybody that stepped in and just took over. So this is Carson Beck's moment to take over. You know,
it's been rocky for quarterbacks at the University of Miami because there was no stability. Even with Beck, Beck came for 1 year, Ward came for 1 year. But the difference between this thing with Beck and one thing I, severely admire about him is the fact that he had an injury in surgery in his shoulder where they didn't even think he'll play again. And just last year when he came down, I met some of the former alumni and fans was out hanging out in Miami, and I teased them about having Beck here, and they was like, "Oh man, we're glad to get rid of him, man. He's no good. He's all injured." And guess what, man? He's living up to the expectations of a superstar.
yes, he is. Yes, he is.
Man, we love him, man, and he's doing all the right things, man. He's doing things on and off the field. That's something to admire. But this is his moment, DC, and if we win this thing, boy, he's gonna be embarking on something where he probably gonna get drafted number one. I'm probably.
I don't know if he'll go number one. I think Fernando Mendoza is going to be the first pick going to the Raiders. I firmly believe that.
Say that again?
I believe Fernando Mendoza is going to be the number one pick going to the draft to the Las Vegas Raiders. It doesn't matter. I don't think it's going to matter whether Fernando Mendoza has a good game or he has an average game or he have even a game that he didn't, do as well. I just think the Raiders, he's a Heisman winner. He's the top quarterback, and he came alive. It got hot really late kind of in the season where they needed to win these CFP playoff games. They won them, and they won them big. That's what I think is going to catapult him. But Carson Beck can be in the conversation for a top 10 quarterback for sure to go somewhere.
And that's what I was getting ready to say. He may not be drafted overall number one. He's going to go in the first round, though.
Of course.
He's going in the first round.
And his play in this game coming up on the 19th, which is the national championship, is going to position him, and it's going to depend on where his position sits. If he plays his butt off, and let's just say he gets most valuable player for bringing Miami to the promised land and delivering that trophy, I think he'll be top 10. If he doesn't play as well, I think he's still be in the first round somewhere or early second day for sure.
I really think all of this talk, what you're saying right now, is a team effort, and it has a lot to do with that offensive line to protect him. Give him the time to deliver the ball to the receivers, and give him the time because he's poised. And just like you were saying that he kind of seemed like he was scary earlier. No, his confidence is built up now because he's done so many things throughout the season well. So his confidence level is out the stratosphere because he's been doing so many things right. He's not throwing balls up and for getting picks and stuff like that. He's getting lanes to run. He run the ball hard. He don't be sliding. He get the first down when it's needed. And so you can't ask for more than that from a quarterback. And he's a proven leader too. And all the guys on the team respects him as their leader. So that means a lot to a team.
Oh man, you summed that up eloquently, Isaiah, and that makes so much sense. We have another visitor here by the name of Super Nandez 09. He says the Canes love being underdogs. We love that.
Of course.
We want to be underdogs going into this game so we can show everybody that we're playing at home. You're not going to kick in our door and come in our house and take our trophy. Our trophy is in the house. You're not going to do it. We're not going to let you do it. Period. And this is going to be a dog fight, I suspect. And I think more than likely, I would even probably say whoever get the ball last, depending on the time, right? Because that's just how close I think this game could potentially be. I don't think it's going to be an explosion of a blowout like Oregon. And Oregon did this to themselves. I mean, they got beat twice in 1 year by the same team. Indiana went to Oregon and beat them earlier in the season.
That was part of that too, DC. I seen Oregon kind of giving up, man, because you got beat already by these guys. and then for them to turn the gas up on you, they put the pedal to the metal on these guys on Oregon, man. They just said that we're gonna just put our will on you. We just gonna just grind it out on you, man. When you talking about several touchdowns, they were up in the third quarter, and they started to shift over to second and third string players to let them play a little bit, get them some experience, so they'll be ready next year. Because it was no path for Oregon to catch back up, because they
didn't have a path because Oregon ran into the buzzsaw and they couldn't figure out how to stop the bleeding. And what I mean by that is once that pick six happened and then Indiana started scoring on them on offense,
it
was a backbreaker for Oregon's defense. It was a backbreaker for Oregon's offense, because Oregon is usually the bully. They show up, they punch other teams in the mouth.
Yeah.
But they ran into a bigger bully last night.
Countered, that's all.
Absolutely.
They got a counter punch. Right?
They got a counter punch, several counter punches. They actually went down for the 8 count. They tried to get back up. They scored 2 touchdowns late when it didn't matter, of course. And, with all due respect to Dan Lanning, I just think that his team came in and they weren't prepared to see what Indiana was going to do to them. I just don't think they was ready, and they didn't make the necessary adjustments at halftime because they had already been punched in the mouth and they was dazed and confused and they couldn't figure it out. They couldn't get it going, right? They did get several drives going, but they never did sustain anything well enough to turn the momentum over, because the momentum stayed in Indiana's corner the whole game. Yeah.
They just pulled their will on Oregon, and Oregon just didn't have an answer, man. And they got beat early in the season, so that probably was fresh in their mind, that butt beating they got early in the season was playing all over again. And then for them to get out and get a pick six on them right away, they was like, oh man, here we go again. So they kind of gave up, because I didn't see that sense of urgency to score and the answer right away when somebody robbed you like that. I mean, this guy was styling going in the end zone from the first play of the game. And you got to answer for stuff like that. A guy snatch a pick like that, you got to go right down there and get something out of it, even if you respond with a field goal. But if you come back empty-handed several series afterwards, man, that's a long night. That's a long night you get ready to embark on. So, but the Canes got something for those guys. I believe so. I think
just like the Canes had something for Nebraska in 1984 when they had Dean Steinkuhler, they had Turner Gill, they had Mike Rozier, they had Fire, they had Jeff Smith, they had some of the best players in college football. The University of Nebraska. We had players that nobody even knew about.
And guess what, DC? You forgot about this. Mike Rozier was a Heisman Trophy winner that year too, so we got another Heisman Trophy.
History is going to repeat itself.
Yep.
I'm confident. So Super Nandez 09 says, no doubt, or technically he says, look at Indiana's schedule. Every decent defense they played, they struggled. They also struggled against extremely mediocre Penn State team. I honestly think the Big Ten might be a little bit overrated. Do you think they're overrated, Isaiah? The Big Ten conference.
I don't kind of characterize the whole club as being overrated, because you can get some good coaches in there, because that's what really matters. You get some.
Well, Kirk Cignetti is a perfect example of that, right? You got Kirk Cignetti, you got Ryan Day at Ohio State, and
because DC, we're talking about a coach that was under the Nick Saban's umbrella, and every team that was in this Final Four was part of Nick Saban's squad. So, you can't just bottom the whole conference into being mediocre, because you got some pockets of good coaches in there that's got their team ready, and they're kicking ass, man.
They are definitely doing that. And by the way, we're so happy. Super Nandez 09. We had several other commenters come through, and we appreciate you commenting. We appreciate your participation with us tonight, because we're just marinating into what's we getting ready to witness on the 19th. And it's going to be historical. I think it's going to be historical, don't you?
Yes, sir. It's going to be historical, man. And not only that, our show itself is historical, because we're going to be out there parlaying around to the stadium, tailgating, having a good time with all the fans on both sides, man. And I'm going to go over there and talk some of the Indiana fans and let them know they finna get a good whooping.
Good whooping, huh?
Yep.
So yes, you're listening to the DC Stewart Show Podcast live. Real talk, no ESPN scripts. If you're new to us, hit that subscribe button, because we're bringing this goodness. We want you to get on this train before it leaves the station. So let's move on to the two coaches. Let's talk about strategy here. I want to talk about Nick Saban's guys, because these two guys work for Nick Saban. These two guys know each other. These two guys have taken different paths. They've taken different journeys, but these two guys, they were meant to play chess against each other, right?
Yeah. And that's what it's all about, man. When you grow up the way it is, and I watched some old clippings of Cristobal when he played for the University of Miami as a lineman, and they were showing the technique. And that's the reason why he is really a guy who want to build a huge line, and that's what he's done. The University of Miami hadn't had a line like that in probably a decade. I mean, some of the big hogs are 6'6" and 6'7", 350 pounds. He's done that. He's built this line because he was a lineman, and he know what it is. He know you got to have some beef up there up front, and if you don't, you're gonna start getting driven around like a sled. You got to have some monsters on that offensive and defensive line, because that's where it all goes down. You can have these little receivers. Yeah, okay, fine. You got little speedsters on the corner. But for all this thing to work, you got to have some monsters on that O-line, especially because they got to be able to move those 4th and 2s, 4th and 3s, because Cristobal love to go for it on 4th down. And if you don't have no hogs up there to push this thing, you can't be going for no 4th 1 and 4th and 2 and sometimes 4th and 3. You got to have a brutal running back and some hogs up front to push this thing. And that's what he's built. And that's the reason why you see that those running backs getting these 1,000 yards, because for the last 4 or 5 years, your running backs over at University of Miami wasn't busting out 1,000-yard runs, because they didn't have that type of lineman that's going to help push the crowd. And now they do. And that's the reason why everything is going. Everything is clicking. The receivers are catching balls because the run is setting up everything. So, man, it's just so exciting. I really had a great time this year watching the University of Miami because of how they're playing. And the spirit of the coach has dreamed down on these players, man. And it's so sweet to see it all come together. Yeah, they're splitting image of their coach. Their coach's toughness, their coach's his ability to be able to connect with players and just basically show these young men that, look, you can do anything you want to do. You can do it if you have enough motivation and enough determination inside of you. You can do it, and that goes for a lot of different football teams. Now, Kirk Cignetti did the same thing in Indiana. He brought in a mammoth line. You see how big that offensive line looks? I think that offensive line and Miami's offensive line are two of the largest offensive lines in college football, and it's a bunch of them for sure. But when you look at Indiana's hogs up front and those running backs hitting those holes, it's a lot of similarity that I see from the University of Miami's line and Indiana's offensive line. Yeah. Yeah. And these two lines have controlled the line of scrimmage pretty much throughout the CFP playoffs on into where they get into now, right? I mean, because they pushed Oregon's defensive line around like they were on sleds last night. Indiana's did. And Miami shoved Mississippi's defensive line around quite often too in that game against Mississippi, but Mississippi just wouldn't give up. They just wouldn't go away. They just kept coming.
However,
The fire and desire in them, man. They had so much turmoil going on in that organization. I'm so surprised they even played as good as they did, man. More power to Mississippi, because your coach kind of cowered out on you, and then he tried to gyp these other coaches into coming with him because he felt like they were going to get beat by Georgia, and then they'll be on their way over to LSU with him. And then when they beat Georgia in advance, he tried to get them to come on because he was a little jealous and feel like, oh man, they're gonna win without me, which is some punk stuff. But they played really well without him, and I was glad to see a good competitive game coming from these kids, because usually when you get treated so harshly like he did, these guys, sometimes the guys don't even have nothing to play for. But they had pride, inner pride of themselves to go out there and play a good game, good competitive game. Yeah.
So give me a grade on strategy between these two coaches, because I know Mario Cristobal was on Nick Saban's staff. Kirk Cignetti was on Nick Saban's staff. Kirk Cignetti was, he was a wide receivers coach, and he did covered several other positions with the University of Alabama. And Mario Cristobal was a defensive line, offensive line coach. He handled around the line, because that's why you see how the Miami's lines are right now. Which coach would you give a grade to? Would you kind of make them even? Because I think they're even, to be honest with you. I think they're even.
They are even. They got the same type of philosophy. You got to remember something, man. Every team in the 4 teams that was left, man, every last one of those guys coach very similar in terms of how they build their team. Yeah, the play calling is set aside, because they don't run that part, but the foundation of each one of these teams are very similar. All of them got quick people on the team. They're all big. They're all agile. I mean, they all have that on their team, and that's the stuff that they each build from scratch. And I just see the fact that one thing that you can kind of see, it just throws everything off, when they play these other teams. Because if you don't have that, your team is done.
Yeah, you have to have those qualities, and it looks like Kirk Cignetti. Here's some of the qualities of Kirk Cignetti. He eliminated mistakes on that team. They control the tempo in the majority of the games they played in this year when he came from James Madison, and he brought several players with him from James Madison, and we're going to talk about one specific one right after this. He forced opponents into long games, and then you look at Mario Cristobal, technically wins in the trenches in most games that Miami has played. They lean on opponents physically to wear them down, and they close games with force. So Miami's a disciplined team, and if I was going to give the edge to either team, I'm not going to give an edge to a coach. I'm going to just give it to either team. I'm going to say Miami has the edge here. But once again, there's going to be people that say they refute that, because Indiana is a hot team and they're coming in on a roll, of course. But at the end of the day, you still got to show up. You got to put your pads on, and you got to take the field. And you're in my house. Or at least you at the front door. I mean, because you ain't got in yet, and we won't let you in.
DC is the high octane thing with the difference in team. Miami slowly grind you out. And Indiana is like speed racer. They love to run up and down the field. It's just like, how basketball team,
yes, it's like
they run and gun. They like to run and gun.
They run up and down the court.
Like to go down there and set up and shoot. That's Miami. Miami like to go down and set up and shoot. But Indiana like to run and gun. They fast. They want to get down there fast. They want to throw a deep ball all the time, And every now and then they'll boom hit you with a run a couple times. But their main thing is to run and gun. They like to run and shoot. They love to throw deep passes. Miami, they don't throw no whole lot of deep passes. They throw short passes, then they hit you with the run. Short pass with the run. Then they'll do a trick play here and there. But they moving the ball down the field. Indiana like to collect yards a lot. They like to go for the 80 yards and the 60 yard. Miami like to hit you with a 30 here, 40 here, and just ease down the field. See, and that right there kind of wear you out too as a defense because you slowly but surely grinding guys out. You smash them,
Right.
But Indiana, they'll throw some bombs on you. Your team don't get as tired if they throwing bombs on you because you only got the DBs trying to chase their receivers down. But that interior line, they still fresh because they're not running down their field 80 yards. So it's going to be a really tough game for both of them. And I think Miami going to have the edge on them. I really do.
I do too.
Grind it out on them.
I just asked AI, just out of curiosity, who wins the chess match. And AI said Kirk Cignetti's edge shows up before halftime. And it says Mario Cristobal shows up as the game wears on. And technically the depth of the defensive line that Miami has, the defensive backs, and their excellent tackling ability. Both teams tackle well, of course, because Indiana gets your ass on the ground. They don't play. I saw them last night. They don't play around. Yeah. They were running around like a bunch of wild dogs on defense last night. Crazy dogs. That's what Lawrence Taylor used to say. And every opportunity they had to punish a runner or a receiver from Oregon, they did it. So Miami just has to be cognizant that they have to inflict that same pain. They have to inflict that same damage and just see who wears down first, because that's kind of what it's going to be. Whoever runs out of gas and wears down first, and that's when the other team can technically take it over. That's the way I feel about it. Mm-hmm. So let's talk about this cornerback by the name of D'Angelo Pons. He's from Miami, Florida. He went to Chaminade, Madonna. He played with quite a few players on Miami's team. He's a little bit undersized. He's 5'9". At least it has him listed as 5'9", 175 pounds. I watched him get exploited about at least 4 times yesterday by bigger receivers. Yeah. Because Oregon has tall, they had tall, long receivers. So they were able to out jump him and go up and get those balls. Even though he was pressuring them and even though he was blanketing them, it wasn't enough. And he got called on several pass interference penalties. How do you think Shannon Dawson is going to create matchups for D'Angelo Pons? Because D'Angelo Pons is coming home, and we welcome you home, by the way. We're glad him and Fernando Mendoza and another player on Indiana's team is coming home, because we want you guys to play at home, but you guys are outsiders looking in now because we're at Miami and you guys play for Indiana, and we've always wished you well. My question to you, Isaiah, as far as D'Angelo Pons is concerned, he's 5'9", listed 5'9", 175 pounds. You got receivers like C.J. Daniels. Malachi Toney is probably comparable to his size. And then you have quite a few receivers, Marion and several other ones, even tight ends from Miami. What do you think Shannon Dawson is going to do to pick up on his weakness? Because I don't look at him as a physical weakness. I just look at him as being an undersized weakness in the sense that he's going to be going up against faster and bigger receivers like he was against Oregon last night.
Well, Shannon Dawson's going to be studying these guys right and left, man. And when you sit there and watch the characteristics of this team, these guys not lacking a whole lot. You just got to really stay on your game and have a good game plan, because you're not getting ready to fool these guys. You just got to beat them. You just got to be more talented than these guys. And it's going to go down to coaching and who's make the least amount of mistakes that's going to prevail in this game. And I think Miami's going to do it. I hope they all feel better. I hope they're not sick. I hope they're healthy going into this game, because we're going to need every body, every able body to be playing at their full capability, man, because I watch Indiana throughout the season, and they just play really tough ball, and they are well coached, because I don't see them out of position that much, man. You don't run big plays on these guys, and that's okay, because Miami don't go for big plays all the time. They go for finesse stuff. They go for the small things and make it big. So that's the reason why I think we're going to beat these guys, because we're not going for the 80 yards. We're going for the 60 yards and turn it into 80. We're going for the 30-yard passes and go make it out of a 80-yard run. So with that in mind, I think we're going to prevail and win this game. Yeah.
And I'll make an adjustment and a correction here about D'Angelo Ponce. He scored on that pick six, by the way. And it looks like he was called for one penalty of a pass interference on Oregon that resulted in a first down for the Ducks. So I had automatically said he had more than one penalty. He only had that one penalty, and he was blanking in those receivers, by the way. He was all over them.
Some of that stuff like that, DC, so don't excuse that, because
right.
Some of those things are just the eyes of the
officials. It's subjective, right?
They miss calls like that, and it just depends on how they feel whether they call stuff, man. Because I see so much holding this year that it just didn't make sense, and they just turn a blind eye on it, man. And I've seen that throughout the season, where these referees and they just turn their head when they watching these guys. So it's almost as if they pulling for one team other than the other. They're not calling the game fair sometimes.
That's true. That's a very, very well stated point, by the way. Absolutely. So to wind everything down, I want to ask you, when it's all said and done, and these teams line up and they face off against each other, what do you think is going to be the initial outcome of the game when the clock ticks to 0?
I think Miami going to beat this game 28-14.
Okay.
We're going to win this 28-14. We're going to beat them by 2 touchdowns. That's what we're going to do. We're going to send these guys packing. And then Mendoza going to go on down and have him some barbecue ribs down on Southwest 8th Street.
How about Conetown?
He don't want to go to no goddamn Conetown. He don't know nothing about no Conetown, man. That's Liberty City.
Well, we've had some comments earlier, and, we basically had Jonathan Rowe, D7 in. He says, Indiana's got this. And I responded back to him that, technically, I think Miami's going to get it handled on our end as well. I don't mean any disrespect to Indiana, because Indiana's got a solid football team. They're solid as a rock. You can ask for no better game than this matchup. These matchups that's going to go down in this game. The amount of alumni that's going to be back in that Miami sideline. I can only imagine.
Yeah.
Those players back from as far back as probably the early 90s and the 80s. And Indiana's got their own alumni that's going to be coming back to support them as well. But it's just historical of what we're going to witness. And then you got Playmaker going to be front forward with all of that, even though Ray Lewis told him to chill his ass out. Didn't do it. Of course. Playmaker likes to spank with a belt after the game is over.
That's why he was disciplined growing up. That's why. He knew it worked.
He know that whooping was coming, and he knows exactly what to expect, right?
It's not abuse. It keep you in line, though. It's not abuse. And that's what they done came up with. And that's why some of these kids are so bad because they ain't get no whooping.
Yeah. So here's my prediction. And I'm going to go ahead and make a bold prediction right now. I believe Miami is going to win this game. And I believe Miami's going to win it by at least a touchdown. I'm not going to go 2 touchdowns, but I'm going to say Miami's going to win this game by a touchdown. Because I just think it's going to be one of them games where it's going to be tight. I don't think it's going to be a game where it's going to be anything different than that. So Super Nandez 09 says he's got Miami 27-17. Does that sound about right to you?
I will go with that. I will go with that, man. So long as we on top. I will go with that.
So Super Nandez 09 also said it sucks. The tickets are so expensive. Well, these people got to make their money. The NCAA has got to make their money.
Hey man, listen.
They bill collectors. Just treat them like that. They got to collect their money. So, Super Nandez 09, we just suggest you come to the tailgate and hang out with us out there, and we'll be more than happy to chat with you and everybody else, of course. And we just go down the street and we watch the game at a sports bar. How about that? Does that sound about right, Isaiah?
Yeah, tell them to come down to Hooters. Right down the street. Hey, man, it ain't just the tickets, DC. That parking will knock you in the head, too, now.
Well, it's probably going to be a couple of $100, right? Would you say, to park your vehicle on the lot?
Close to it. It's close to $100 to park. Yeah.
I think it might even be more because I'll have to look it up on the internet to see how much those tickets are going to cost.
You know, Stephen Ross got to pay that bag for tour, man. He got to keep them prices high in their parking.
And Stephen Ross gets all of the revenue from that stadium. It's his stadium. So he gets the parking, he gets the concessions, everything that go down in there, whether they have music concerts, sporting events.
The racing is down there too, the Indy race.
And the Indy race, of course. Yeah.
You forgot the tennis match is there too. They have the tennis matches there now.
Oh, yeah, I forgot about that. Because, Serena Williams, she's an investor with Stephen Ross. So that's probably what brought those tennis matches to that area. Yeah. So Super Nandez says he would love to go, but he can't spend no $4,000 per ticket. Do they cost that much?
Hell yeah, they cost that much.
The nosebleed section?
The nosebleed, his nose.
Oh my freaking goodness! Well,
his nose gonna be bleeding, and his pocket's gonna be.
It's gonna be a bunch of people with nosebleeds if it's $4,000 per ticket.
Tell him he'll make it up.
You know what? Those Indiana's fans are gonna come pay it. They're gonna be there. It's gonna be a ton of red. And it's gonna be a ton of orange.
He get ready to file his taxes anyway. You file your taxes.
You can write all of it off, right?
Huh?
He can write all of it off.
No, he gonna get his tax money. He gonna get his tax return money, man.
So that pretty much wraps up everything that we talked about. We covered the game as a recap from Mississippi and Miami, and then we covered the Indiana-Oregon game. And out of those two games, I collected a lot of information in my brain that I can kind of like just put together and start looking at it and trying to put together an analytical data sheet in my head from the sense that I got two things that I think Miami's got on their side. First of all, they're playing their game at home. Yeah. Now, I'm not saying they're going to be protected 100% at home because they done lost football games at home. They lost to Louisville at home.
Yeah.
So in Louisville, that up-tempo offense just kept them off balance the whole day. Yeah. But I just think, historically speaking, playing at home, and then in 1984, we were talking the same type of talk. Look, Nebraska's going to crush them. They weren't going to have a chance. And Miami stayed in that game the whole game, and they won that game. I think Miami's going to get this handled. I really do. And we would like everybody else to, drop us a line. Let us know what you think, because we want to know everybody's opinion. And we certainly want to know Indiana's faithful Indiana supporters' opinion as well, right?
Yeah. They invited. Go ahead and tell us what y'all think. It ain't going to hurt my feelings, even though we're going to beat y'all.
Exactly. So let's go over some quick scores for the NFL in the wild card week. It looks like it's fourth quarter, 4:18 left in the fourth quarter. Green Bay is leading Chicago 27-24. It looks like
how much time? Because I was
4 minutes and 18 seconds according to this that I'm looking at right now.
Chicago to win that game. They're losing.
They're losing 27-24, but they have the ball right now.
Oh.
So you can never count them out when they have the ball, of course, right? Mm-hmm. The LA Rams, they ended up winning 34-31 over Carolina. Carolina's gotten better. I mean, Bryce Young is playing much better,
I'm
right?
surprised they got this far, though, to be honest with you.
Yeah, you and I both coming out of that NFC South, right?
Mm-hmm.
And Sunday, it looks like Buffalo is going to be playing Jacksonville the first game, and San Francisco is going to be playing Philadelphia, and then the LA Chargers is going to be playing New England, and then on Monday night, Houston plays Pittsburgh. So give me your takes. Buffalo, Jacksonville. Who takes that one?
Jacksonville.
Okay. I'm going with Buffalo. I'm going to go with Buffalo.
Right
San Francisco, Philadelphia.
Say that again.
San Francisco, Philadelphia, and they playing, I believe, in Philadelphia. I think Philadelphia is the home team.
I got Philly.
Okay.
The underdog.
I got Philly as well. The LA Chargers in New England.
New England.
Okay.
They on a good ride, DC. They hot right now. I think they're going to win.
I think New England going to take care of that too. I really do. And last but not least, Monday night, the Pittsburgh Steelers versus Houston.
Man, that's tough.
That's a tough one. As you look at DeMeco Ryans, what he's done at Houston is just beyond spectacular. I mean, that brother can coach, man. That brother can coach.
One thing I love about him, his post-game conferences. I love him, man. He have that locker room heated up, man. And those guys has bought into his philosophy, and I'm loving it. But guess what? I want old antique Rodgers to win this thing with Tomlin. Yeah. Pittsburgh pulling this one off.
So I got a commenter today that said that he thought Aaron Rodgers was kind of at the end of the road. Do you think Aaron Rodgers is at the end of the road?
Hell yeah, he's 40-something.
So I'm in the perspective that what I mean. Let me rephrase it. Is Aaron Rodgers capable of playing another year?
Yes, he can. He can. I mean, you can't just drop off dramatically where you don't even play another year. Just look at how spectacular he was this year, running the ball for first downs. I'm talking about 20-yard runs.
Yes.
40-year-olds don't do that when they don't have nothing left, man. He's got something left in the tank. If you just look at his pass throwing, DC, he's accurate still, man.
Right.
And
right.
Not only that, the team like him. The offensive line, they block for him, man. And I didn't see them doing that, blocking that well for the last couple of years, like they're blocking for him. And he know how to get rid of the ball. He don't sit there and take a lot of sacks either, man, because he just know when to throw the ball out of bounds. He don't freaking get caught with intentional groundings and none of that stuff, man, because he's so experienced. And it's just good to see him go up and down the field at his age and to command the respect from the team, man. And the offensive coordinator love him because he's carrying out those duties. And I don't even think they would be in the playoff if they had another quarterback. Aaron Rodgers, the experience, is the one carrying these guys right now.
Mm-hmm. I have to concur with you. I concur with you from the sense that I think Aaron Rodgers is that factor. He's still got that it factor. He's still got the mojo. I think he's older, of course.
Think about something when Tom Brady was there. Tom Brady won a Super Bowl when everybody thought he wasn't, going to be able to play. Think about it. Peyton Manning had a neck surgery when everybody thought he was over the hill. He went and got neck surgery and out of the country, no less, and came back and won a Super Bowl. So you can't count these guys out, these great quarterbacks like that. You can't just count these guys out because the experience alone beats you. I remember when Michael Jordan was like, people thought he was declining.
Mm-hmm.
And Kobe Bryant gets in his ear and start asking him about how you do that. And he's like, man, I'm not telling you nothing. You already got those youthful legs. I'm beating you off wisdom now. I can't tell you my secrets, man. You crazy? And that's what's happening with these older quarterbacks. Their wisdom is the one that's carrying their talent right now because they just know what to do. They know they're playing on the minds of these young players now. So once these guys catch up with that same type of wisdom, then you're going to be out of here.
Mm-hmm.
That's what it is. And that's what Michael Jordan was trying to convey to Kobe. He was like, I can't tell you my secrets because I'm beating you off of knowledge now because my physical ability has declined. I can't beat you with my physical ability anymore. So I got to just outthink you. I got to do things that you're not familiar with.
Right.
So that's what's happening with Aaron Rodgers in this team, man. He's just gutsy. He's got poise, and these guys love him, and they give him the right plays to run, man. So it's working right now.
Well, here's another thing too. Aaron Rodgers has definitely got another year in him for sure. He's got another year in his tank, I think. And I agree with everything you just said for sure.
You know, I remember, DC, I was pissed when the Jets got rid of him last year.
You were.
It's a good thing that he left because look where they are.
Well, that's the fate. That's what we're talking about. We talked about fate in our last show. Fate come knocking on that door, man. You better be packing your bags. If you ain't packing them bags, they gonna pack them for you. Yep. Fate will pack them bags for you and get you up out of there. So that's kind of how that works.
Yeah.
I just have a question for you. Looks like Tampa Bay purged a bunch of coaches. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers, Todd Bowles.
Yeah.
I have a specific question for you. Why did he fire Charlie Strong?
Because his ass is hot on the hot seat himself.
Well, he's been reassured that he's safe for 2026.
Well, that's why he's safe, because he fired every damn body else. That's the first part of it. You crazy? When your ass is in that hot flame, you start clipping stuff around you. And that's what he's done. So now that's his first excuse.
So do you think Todd Bowles deserves another year, or should they have clipped him too?
They should have clipped his ass too if he ain't willing to stick with his damn club. You the head guy. You start firing guys, man. Come on, man.
Especially Charlie Strong. I mean, Charlie Strong, he was the defensive line coach, according to what I'm reading right here. He was the defensive line coach. They fired him, and they fired the defensive backs coach, Kevin Ross, and the safeties coach, Nick Raponi. I think Nick Raponi and senior offensive consultant Tom Moore. Tom Moore has been around forever. He used to coach the offense at Indianapolis. But I'm specifically talking about, why did he get rid of Charlie Strong?
DC, you know what that scapegoat type of philosophy reminds me of? Remember the year that Atlanta Falcons fired a group of those guys, and he fired Brian Cox and the rest of those guys? That was a scapegoat type of tactic that they used to get rid of those guys, and they hadn't been together since. Their team has been in total turmoil since they did that. They haven't had anybody to go in there and rebuild that team since they did that. And so Todd Bowles I think that was a mistake for him to do that, man. I really do. Stick with your guys, regroup, and then come back next year.
And Strong had been there since Bruce Arians took over the team. He had been with Tampa Bay for quite some time. And Bruce Arians didn't get rid of him. You know,
Charlie Strong was there when Bruce Arians was there too?
From what I just read now, it said that he had been there for quite some time. Strong had been there. Technically, he joined the Bucks in 2025. Ross, former Louisville head coach, he had joined. But okay, so Ross had been the cornerbacks coach. Strong joined in 2025. I had it mixed up right here.
I didn't think Charlie Strong been.
Raponi had been on the staff since 2019, so maybe he was just the odd man out since he hadn't been there that long. Would you say that?
No, man, don't get me upset, dude. I was about to close this night really healthy. I don't want to get pissed off, man, because I think it was BS, man, to fire this guy like that. You start blaming these guys underneath instead of taking the damn hit yourself. It just don't make sense, man. A guy like that, who's polished, who's been in national championships, who coached national championships, and you fired it? Nah, man. Nah. And it just was something to get the heat off of him. He diverting that heat somewhere else. But guess what? Stuff like that goes around, because next year, if he continue to be the same coach he's doing, and they wind up...
it's coming back to him. They're going to get him up out of there next year. They may not even wait for the season to end, too. They may get him up out of there in the middle of the season if they're not doing as well as they should be doing, right? The expectation part of it. And look, I'm not throwing any shade at Todd Bowles. I actually like Todd Bowles. I don't have any problems with him. I remember when he played in the NFL, so I have a memory of him. But I just think that coaching, it puts that stress and that pressure on a lot of these people. And the first thing they start looking for is the first, excuse to get rid of other people rather than addressing the real issues. Yeah.
That's a soft target, man. He just got rid of soft target. That's it.
Okay, so we're going into the last question. Looks like Brian Cox, since you mentioned Brian Cox, looks like he was fired from the New York Giants because he disagreed over the seating arrangement on an airplane, according to this report right here. According to this report, he had been reassigned his seat on the airplane, and I guess it was more toward the back.
Wait, man. He got fired for what?
According to this, it said that Brian Cox, the firing which occurred during the team's bye week, stemmed from Cox's reaction to a last-minute change in seating arrangements on the flight home from New England. Assistant coaches typically seated near the front were relocated to the back of the plane, a move that apparently triggered a bunch of frustration and anger.
When is this? What are you talking about? When is this?
This was a report that happened on December 10th, according to this report.
Of this year?
Yeah, just a week ago.
What?
He played New England. I want to say the Giants played New England.
He was coaching. I didn't even know he was coaching. He coached. He was a champion with the 2001 Patriots, a three-time Pro Bowler, Super Bowl champion with the Patriots. Joined the Giants in 2022 under Brian Daboll. I didn't know who he was coaching for this year, man.
The Giants. Know he was
back out there.
Yeah.
Say that again.
He was coaching for the Giants. He joined Brian Daboll's staff, and then Brian Daboll got fired, of course.
Man, I didn't know Brian was because you remember we were talking about him a couple years ago, man, and I didn't know he got back in there coaching.
Yeah, he found another job. I mean, they don't tend to stay out of work unless they want to, or unless they get blackballed, right?
Brian Cox was a huge horse guy, man. He got a bunch of horses. He used to race his horses. Yeah, I thought once he got fired from Atlanta, he got into his coaching and his horses full time because he had laid off. He wasn't coaching for a while.
Mm-hmm.
For a while.
It's like he was fired by the interim coach too, Mike Kafka.
See, that guy probably
assistant defensive line coach.
Because Brian Costa act like a real idiot, man, when he get pissed off, boy.
When he played, he was even more. He was insane.
When Brian Costa get pissed, he loses it. You better get ready because he gonna act the real ass. He gonna act up, man. It's hard to contain this guy once he get pissed, man. I've seen him on numerous occasions as a coach and as a player. Man, oh man.
It still says unclear because they don't know the exact things that happen on the airplane. But one thing is for sure, when you're asked to be reassigned seating on an airplane, I guess they feel like it's disrespectful that you're a coach and then you're sitting in the back of the plane. That's just what I'm assuming they were thinking. I mean, because he wasn't the only one. I think it was several other coaches that had to move to the back of the plane, the charter flight.
Yeah, he didn't want to do that. It almost sound like some racist stuff when they had to move him in the back of the bus. He ain't going for that. Brian said, hell no, I ain't going no back of no plane.
Listen, the plane is still going to fly and you still going home. That's the way I look at it. If they'd put me back there, I probably would have got mad, but I wouldn't have made no stink out of it.
It done rehash some old 1960 stuff, man. You know, Brian play that game.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep. But anyway, we appreciate everyone joining us tonight. We just, oh man, we love this, and we'll be doing another live stream on Monday. We're gonna get Najee back, and we're gonna be talking about the weekend sports recap like we do every week. And we're gonna be amping it up, and I'm gonna be looking forward to making some plans, and you know, we're gonna have a good time. especially with this Miami game. So,
of course, yeah.
we're telling all of our viewers and all of our fans, because we got fans, by the way, from around the world, over in Europe and Asia. I'm getting messages all the time. So I'm so happy that people appreciate what we're giving them from other countries as well as the United States. So
I'm gratified about that. But, one thing I'm going to do, I'm going to concentrate on some of my new members from Indiana, welcome them in town next week.
Absolutely. We welcome all the Indiana faithful to come to Miami. It's going to be better weather because Indiana is cold, of course. And it's going to be nice and sunny and tropical. And I think Miami Beach will be jumping. The whole city of Miami is going to be jumping because this is a big deal, especially since the home team is playing at home. If it would have been two different teams, I could see. But you got all of these Miami fans are going to be there from all over South Florida, even as far as North Florida and West Florida is going to be there.
Indiana fans, y'all come down here, bring your money, man. Spend your money up down here and go back home.
There you go.
Tears in your eyes.
We're looking forward to speaking with you, and we want to get your takes on everything and what you think about your team and the year that they've had. Because Indiana has always been known as a basketball school, to give a little bit of history lessons to people who are not familiar with the University of Indiana in football. They have always had a Power 5 basketball team, even from the late 70s into the 80s into the 90s. We have always been in the Final Fours and Sweet 16s, right?
They'll come down here and patronize this old alma mater, DC.
Is that right?
Yeah, I say that'll be nice to see Isaiah Thomas come down here and patronize his old alma mater.
Yeah, because Isaiah Thomas played for Indiana at least for a while.
A couple years ago. Well, it's been many years ago now at an open forum where we were hosting a showdown at the Joseph Caleb Center, and he came down.
Oh man, you just brought back memories to Joseph Caleb Center, 54th Street and 22nd Avenue.
You're a cool guy, man.
I used to walk to practice to Hialeah Optimist, Benny Babcock Park. I would sometimes have my shoulder pads and my helmet, and I would walk all the way down to that park, and I would walk home several times from Benny Babcock Park. So you bring back some good memories with that Joseph Caleb Center. Yeah. We're looking forward to meeting Luke, Uncle Luke. We want to meet you. So if you see this, let us know where we can meet you at, because we like to meet you down there. We want to meet several other people, Antrell Roll, all of the Miami alumni. I want to meet with those guys and talk with them if there's a possibility we could do that. So
they're gonna be there, so we'll hook up with them.
Yeah,
most of those guys are gonna be there. Those alumni is gonna be there, and that's what they need to do because they need to support their
they gotta be there. They gotta be on that sideline rooting these youngsters on, man. Absolutely. So we close this thing out. Do you have anything to close with, Isaiah?
Well, yeah, always. I just want to say thanks for everybody watching. This is something that we love doing, and tell your friends and your family and your coworkers that we're on. You guys be safe. Enjoy the rest of the weekend, and come on down here and watch the Canes take care of this business, man. This is what it's all about: college football, and guess what? Is in our backyard. So, yes, sir. Let's go, Canes. You all the way.
So
for the ribs, Canes. Bam, bam, bam. Out for the count.
So we just had a visitor by the name of Juan Manuel Ventura, 8203, asked me, is this prom night? What is this, the prom? I mean, I think I understand what he said, right?
He might be thinking that you dressed up, DC. That's all.
Isaiah, am I going to the prom tonight? I'm already at the prom. We're sitting at the prom right now.
This is what we do.
This is how we do it, baby. This is how we do it. We do it every week here. DC Stewart Show Podcast live stream every week, and we're gonna be here. So it's gonna be prom night every time we show up. It's gonna be prom night. By the way, and welcome, by the way, to even leave a great comment, because we appreciate you leaving a comment. So we'll close this thing out. Thank you for joining us. We appreciate everyone, and we hope everyone have a good rest of your weekend. Tomorrow and next week is going to be a new week, so we hope everybody can get their week started out the right way, and good health, good spirits, keep your spirits up. If you can keep your health and spirits up, you good. I mean, everything else, all of these other problems, monetary problems, problems with relationships and all that kind of stuff. You keep your spirits up and you keep your health up, you can overcome those things if you try hard enough, I think. So anyway, we'll see you soon, and take care of yourself, take care of people around you, and we'll be back. Peace, love, and prosperity. Take it easy. Take care.